Yes, people, this conversation is brought to you by Hackney Empire and Hackney Empire Creative Futures. The Hackney Empire Creative Futures program works with over 4,000 young people a year using music, dance, drama, film, design, and everything in between to explore our potential. This conversation is also brought to you by We Are Stripes. We Are Stripes are an incredible organization that aim to address the ethnic diversity and balance in the creative industry, starting with the creative advertising subsector. They support emerging and mid to senior level talent, as well as supporting businesses to make their environments more inclusive for ethnically diverse talent. And today I am joined by one of the founders of We Are Stripes, a very, very good friend of mine, somebody who we haven't known each other very long, but whenever we have our conversations, I always feel leaving inspired, energized, and ready to take action. Haydn Corrodus, my brother, how are you today?
Good, sir. How are you, man? I'm good. I'm very good. Thank you for the introduction.
No, that's all good, man. It's deserved. Yeah. So, Haydn, I mean, how are you? What's going on? Tell you what, before that, because I know you very well, but tell the people about yourselves. Give them a little intro about you.
My name's Haydn Corrodus. I currently work for the Arts Council as a tech champion. I consult basically on social media and digital marketing for all of their funded organizations. I also, obviously, a co-founder of We Are Stripes. And We Are Stripes is basically an initiative to try and help BAME creatives in a nutshell. And we do that through events, through work placements, through exposure. And the main aim is to champion the good stories in D&I. We don't focus so much on some of the negative aspects of it and really try and champion the good parts of it. And then also, obviously, I used to work in music for about 10 years. So I've got a lot of musical background. So I've done a lot of stuff with different artists, and I've been on tour and done all sorts of things. And I also now manage an artist named Reels. So I've got my hand in quite a few different pies. But
shout out Reels. If you don't know Reels, get to know him. Reels is such a talented young brother. For those of you that don't know, Haydn and Reels were part of a tour that I produced last autumn, winter called Mind's Tour. Yeah, something like that. And it was basically an arena tour around the UK, empowering and championing young people's mental health. Shout out Jamala Osman, Hussein Manaware, Breakcoms, all those incredible people involved. Vashti Iona Beckford, all these incredible people involved who, like myself and Haydn, are passionately trying to champion change and transformation for young people's mental health and resilience, and talk about issues and environments that affect people's mental health. Haydn, how's your mental health right now?
You know what? It's actually funny. I was saying to a friend last night. With me, especially the way I work, I make sure, because I'm still working, so I'm one of the lucky people who are still working, and I count myself blessed for that and grateful for that. But I have to make sure I differentiate where I am. So I literally only go and work upstairs in the house that I'm staying at currently, and then when it 5 o'clock stops, I lock down and go to other spaces in the house, because I don't want to get too comfortable like working from my bedroom or one of those kind of things like that. I think to me, you really do need to kind of set up some sort of space differentiation, so you don't feel like you just constantly need to be working and constantly need to be online if that's the kind of thing your work involves.
I've done exactly the same thing. So literally in the flat, we're kind of just working out of the kitchen right now, so that although that's where we cook and eat and everything, at least we've got the rest of the flat to kind of differentiate and kind of create zones.
Yeah.
And I've definitely felt that at least assists the kind of energy in your safe space. And I spoke about this last week with Renelle. But what's it like being at home so much?
For me, it's been okay. You know what's funny? I've actually gone to my parents' house. So I'm actually at my mum's house, so the whole family's here. So everybody's here. So it's nice just to be around the family, if I'm honest with you. I work from home quite a lot with my day job anyway, so that hasn't been too bad. But like I said, it was just important for me to make sure that, like we said, we had that safe space, that working space of where I can actually work and not feel like I'm trapped indoors, sort of thing. You know, obviously when you're at work, when you're in the office, you'll speak to people and you've got loads of different things to distract you. When you're at home, you may get too comfortable, and that's why I've tried to really make sure that I've kind of had that balance. And I'm also making sure that I leave the house. I know it sounds a bit cliche and you might not normally leave the house as often as you have during this period, but for me, that's been quite important. That's been really important for me, just to get outside, take a little walk, go for a stroll, go for a run, or whatever, what have you, just so that you can keep my energy right and get some sun, I suppose, or just get some fresh air.
Yeah, I'm not really doing any exercise right now, and I think I need to because I'm kind of we try and go for a walk once a day or something like that, and stuff like that. But I definitely am feeling a little bit unmotivated. My energy is just all over the place. Like my body doesn't know how to react.
Yeah, I hate it. I mean, I've been like that for me. Days don't have no differentiation. Like weekend, what is the weekend? Do you see what I mean? Like, so in that sense, it's been a bit weird. But yeah, for me, I was quite a big exercise person before the lockdown. So that transition has been interesting for me as well, because I used to do a lot of weights and that kind of, I used to enjoy that. And I used to do that to help me mentally as well, because I used to do it because it used to give me a place just to go away and just kind of just zone out and just think about my day or think about what's going on in my life, for example. So taking that away from me has also been something that's been like, oh, okay, how do I now adjust to this? And because I don't have weights and stuff like that kind of at my house, having to find new ways to try and exercise has been quite challenging for me, if I'm honest with you. Because like you said, that when you're used to doing a certain thing or working out in a certain way, and then saying, okay, now you just do push-ups or now you just do sit, it doesn't have the same kind of feel. So it's been interesting.
I think ever since I've known you, though, you've always struck me as quite a positive person. Like, I feel like your mental and emotional attitude is always to try to find positivity in the situation. Yeah. And I'm a massive fan of We Are Stripes. If you don't know We Are Stripes, please go on their website, wearestripes.org.uk. It's an incredible organization. And I definitely get the feeling that We Are Stripes, it kind of definitely still has the shape of its founding members. And I don't know the others as well as I know you, but that kind of positivity and not trying to get bogged down in the issues around diversity as opposed to trying to find positive steps forward. And I definitely want to talk more about that, and specifically the concept of diversity post-COVID-19 in a bit. Yes. But in terms of how have you found your kind of emotional balance at this time? You are a positive person. Do you feel positive all the time? What does that look like?
Again, I do. I think we all have ups and downs. We all have ups and downs. As I kind of briefly touched on, I did music for when I left uni about 22, 23 till I turned 30. And when I turned 30, I stopped doing music. And for somebody who really, really gave it a go, when you stop doing something and that's the only thing you ever wanted to do, it can really mess with your mind.
Yeah.
So between the age of 30 and I'm now 37, for about 30 to 33, I really tried to focus on, okay, how can I improve my mindset? Like, what can I do to get myself out of this funk of feeling like like a failure? I'm 30 years old. I'm not doing what I supposedly set out to do. I didn't have a career job at the time.
Yeah.
So I really started to read a lot, and that's everything from self-help books to autobiographies to just fiction to fantasy. I read, and that really started to make me understand that a lot of the traits of the people I look up to, I have some of those traits, and if I have some of those traits, I have things to be positive about. And for me, your mindset is something that you have to work on. It's like your mind is a muscle. I say it's a muscle like any other muscle in your body. You have to work on it. You have to really try and develop a mindset that will help you get through things. And for me, that's trying to be grateful. That's trying to show gratitude. That's trying to help people where I can. In a selfish way, that's one of the reasons I like to help some people, because it helps me. And me helping other people makes me feel good about myself, and it helps me aspire to try and do more. So that's kind of how I've kind of managed it during this period of time. On my Instagram, I'm giving away books. Talked to a lot of my friends behind closed doors. I'm trying to help them with different businesses and stuff they're doing. And that keeps me in that same kind of cycle of all you can do is try and help people in your circle to try and make things better.
Who helped you when you were kind of coming up or at that kind of transition age around your 30s? Did you have people around you that helped you take those next steps? Or was that one of the reasons that We Are Stripes exists? Because there was a lack of that.
Exactly. That's exactly that. I always say to myself, I wish I had a me when I was growing up. And I don't mean that as an ego thing.
I get it completely. And I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. Just somebody who would be willing to help me. If they saw something in me, they say, okay, this is what you try and do. And that's why I'm always trying to help. And I will always have my door open to anybody. If I can help you, I'll help you. If I can't, I just say I can't. To me, it doesn't hurt you to help somebody. Do you see what I mean? Like, there's so many people who seem to have that attitude that if you try and help someone, it's a detriment to yourself, and it's not. So yeah, that's how it was for me. And then with We Are Stripes, we basically came about because I worked in creative agency. When I finally got through that kind of segment of not doing music, I moved to creative agency. I work in social media and digital. And when I started to look around, there was no one who basically looked like me, especially at the top senior level. And then what happened was, online, a friend of mine joined a new creative agency, and I saw it on LinkedIn. And it so happened that this MD of the time of the agency was a black man. And I was like, wow, I've never seen a black man at quite a high up creative agency. Mm-hmm. So I literally just messaged him on LinkedIn, like, oh, this is amazing. I work in creative agency, and it's just amazing to see a black MD sort of thing. And we just started talking, going back and forth. His name's Ete, by the way, Ete Davis. He's a brilliant man. He's my mentor now. And we just started talking back and forth. And then eventually he was like, oh, I'm starting this thing called We Are Stripes. Do you want to get involved? And that's kind of how it developed. And I mean, I remember in your last talk with Vanel, you talked about networks. And that is something that, again, I preach to the cows come on. Your network really is your net worth. And it sounds like a corny saying, but the people you connect with and the doors that can open from the people that you have relationships with are so important. And Ete is one of the reasons why I have so many relationships now within this industry. Even if I think about even how I met you, is through We Are Stripes, which started through Ete. But do you see what I mean? So like that whole separation, yeah.
I think this is something that I struggle with now in terms of looking around and not seeing people like me in my position. So I realize I haven't introduced myself. Yeah, but my name is Yamin and Haydn. I'm the artistic director of Hackney Empire. If you don't know that already, then hopefully you're still here and watching for me to introduce myself. I look around the sector consistently, and I guess it's the real fascinating part of the intersectionality of diversity. So for me, it's not enough to look around and see people of color in a theater. It's not enough for me to look around and see people of color just on stage. If they're not reflected in the audience, if they're not reflected in the decision makers of the organization or of the sector. And I personally feel very angry that I don't see more of it consistently. And it really does fuel my imposter syndrome in those situations where I'm sat around a table or I'm sat in a room, and working for the Arts Council, you're going to know exactly what I mean here. You're sat in these rooms and you're looking around, and diversity is the subject of conversation, and the rooms couldn't be less diverse if they tried. Yeah. Now again, you always, and in our conversations, you always steered me towards, well, what about this? And thinking outside of the box to seek solutions. So with that in mind, we're here predominantly wanting to talk to young people and inspire and give young people something to attach themselves to. What advice could we give to young people who might be entering these situations and looking around and not seeing people like them, or not knowing where to go or who to look to for advice?
I mean, I think that another big difference between when we were growing up is that, although it's just not quite the answer, but it's an answer, the internet is your friend. There are so many people now doing these events, doing the free events, giving you advice, giving you mentoring sessions, like in any discipline that you're thinking of, there'll be someone who's talking about it, and probably someone who looks like you. And so I say that to say, the excuses before, oh, we don't know where to go, where to look, to me aren't as valid, because there are a lot of places and a lot of people who are, the amount of free events that We Are Stripes puts on, and this isn't like a plug to We Are Stripes, and there's loads of organizations.
No, but you should plug We Are Stripes. You should, because information is power, and you're making people powerful. So please do what you're doing.
So yeah, so even just from that, the amount of free events we put on, and the people who are in these rooms, this is what goes back to that network. This is your opportunity to network with these people, meet these people. And networking doesn't necessarily mean that you have to speak to every single person in the room. You can plan those things out. You can think, okay, I only want to meet this person or this person. That's what that could be your network for the night. If that's how you feel easy, or if that's how you find it easy to talk to people, then do something like that, and then build a relationship. That's the key thing. It's that relationship. It doesn't mean that because I've met someone today, we have to do something right now. Right, tomorrow we have to do a deal, or we have to help me X, Y, Z. Build that genuine relationship. Send them stuff that you're interested in. If you see something about their work that you like, let them know, I really like this thing you did with in your career piece, or what have you. This is something I'm doing, I thought you might like it. If do those things, and what you'll find is people innately want to help. Like, yes, you'll get people who will say no, but if you're offering a genuine value exchange, or you can show that you're genuinely hungry and you've approached something in a professional manner, I would say 9 out of 10 people will help you. So just keep those things.
How people do that, especially now? Is it enough to just DM someone on Insta? Is that, what's the best way of doing this right now?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, during this time period, yes, I think it is. And I don't mean, you can't, again, think about what you're doing. So if you're going to, if you've got an interest, let's say you're interested in theatre, for example, you're on a few social media platforms. Find out the people who you want to talk to. Find out the people who you want to look at. It's like I said, Google is you can so easily Google the people that you're trying to talk to. Find out what their names are. Find out their social profiles, and then say, okay, which one do you think will be the most relevant place for me to reach out to them? A lot of the time, these people are on LinkedIn. So if you're on LinkedIn, go to them via LinkedIn, via a business page. If you're not on LinkedIn and you think they're on Instagram, maybe comment on their post, but a relevant comment. Don't just be like, hey, check your DMs. If they post something that's relevant to you, start that conversation piece. Start to say, oh, I like what you've done there, X, Y, Z. And make it so they notice you, then maybe DM them and say, okay, I really like the work you've been doing, X, Y, Z. You might not have been following you for X time. I'm just wondering if I could ask you about this, or can I get you a cup of coffee? And we go, like, do you understand what I mean? And if you don't have the money for a cup of coffee, just say, can I just send you an email with my thoughts about something? It's just, you see what I mean? It's just.
And is that the same for music? Given your background in music, do the same rules apply? I know you use theatre as an example.
I think it does. But again, it's the relationship. So, for example, when we brought Shay Lingo to Hackney Empire to do On Track, we did.
Phenomenal, by the way. If you don't know, get to know.
Shay Lingo.
Grateful, because I thought that was an incredible workshop. It was amazing for somebody like Shay to give up their time in that respect to work with young people in such an open forum.
Yeah.
And I think I want you to return to this point, but I think it still surprises people that these things exist. So I think we need to touch on that in terms of signposts and how to find out about these opportunities. But go back to what you were saying about bringing Shay Lingo to Empire.
Even the fact that was a free event. Like the amount of gems that you got from that free event, like the information is definitely there. But again, so my relationship with Shay Lingo, I'm not going to sit here and say that we're friends or anything of that nature. But I've been following Shay for about 3 or 4 years. I've been communicating with him online, liking his post, retweeting his post, sending him different messages, etc., etc. To the extent where I had the I suppose the cachet to say, oh, Shay, do you mind if you do this? Can I reach out to you? Because he knows who I am. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so we didn't need to do something straight away. And that relationship has meant that I've got him on a track with Reels. It's meant that we was able to do the event, the On Track event. And that can happen in music. It happens on music all the time. So it's just about, again, just really thinking about what are you trying to achieve and how can someone help you achieve that? But then not just that, what is your skill set that when you show that person, reach out to that person, they can see, no, okay, you're genuine about what you do.
And I think it's an important distinction to make, that there is a distinction between a friendship and your network. So I would consider you a friend. I would also consider you part of my network. They don't have to be mutually exclusive, but you don't have to be friends with people in your network. So without being, rude or anything, the way you said that you and Shay weren't friends, but you could still approach him for an opportunity or to make a request of his time, I think that's really powerful. I think that a lot of young people, I think what they think is that, well, I don't know anybody like that. And then if they actually did like an index, like an audit of their contacts, they'd be surprised by the amount of skills that they have on their Instagram list or whatever. Renelle and I spoke last week about how I feel I don't have a great relationship with social media anyway. I don't know how to use it that well, but I enjoy it when it means that a lot of people can access me, or I can access a lot of people. And both Renelle and I were talking about some of the negative impact, our perceived negative impact of social media. Given your background and your expertise, how can we use, or how is social media and digital media being used positively? How can we how can we use it positively as creators and artists?
I mean, look, it'd be insane of me to sit here and say that social media doesn't have a negative side. It clearly does, and it can clearly affect people's health. It can clearly affect your outlook on the world. But again, so back in when I turned 30, another thing I did is I culled my social media. I really started to alter the people I was following, the accounts that I looked at, and the people, the platforms I was using, so that I could actually start to feed my mind with the kind of information that I want to see. So I think, first of all, that's really important. If you're somebody who maybe suffers from mental health, or who suffers from, I don't know, envy is not quite the word, but suffers from fear of missing out, or suffers from feeling that, oh, why are you like that and I'm not here?
Yeah.
Maybe just look at your social media and tailor it a bit more. Just tailor the account you're following. So until you get to that place where you're comfortable, where you can sit there and say, okay, I saw that person doing really well, amazing, smashed it.
Yeah.
Now I want to go and do better.
Because these are choices as well. You're not, hopefully nobody's forcing you to absorb these ideas. What you're saying to me, I don't know if I've ever thought about this in this way, is that you curated like a menu of what you wanted to have available to you.
Yeah, because I just believe, like I said, I go back to that mind is your mind is a muscle. I go back to that because the things, the information that you're feeding your mind, it has an effect. It has an effect. So if all of your people you follow are negative, or they're living a certain lifestyle, or it's feeding a part of you that you don't, energy in you that you don't like, then that you have to change that. You have and like you said, you have that choice to change that. You can change the content that you see on your social media, simply by who you follow. So for me, that's a big thing, especially from the mental point of view. In terms of the positive way people's using it, most of my connections are from social media. A lot of my the way I've got my job roles, the very first creative agency role I got was because I literally sent a message to someone on LinkedIn about their social media and said, I can help you with this, and that's how I got into a creative role. So literally, social media is a great platform for you to connect with people, to talk to people. It's a great way for you to show your work. If you're of that ilk, or that kind of mindset that you like to show your work, it's a great place to do that, because the amount of people who see We Are Stripes' work, and we don't even have any huge following, but the people who see it are the people who need to see it, which means we can go and do bigger things. So it's a great platform just to literally get your story out there, and you control that narrative. You control the information people see about you. You can control how your work is perceived. And for me, that's one of the powerful things about it.
Just picking up on something you just mentioned, personally, I feel like there's a real pressure attached to how many followers you have. And I understand that the larger a crowd you develop, it's like the larger an audience you're playing to. I get all of that. But for me, I just feel like there's too much. I feel like young people particularly pressure themselves too much to say, I've only got 2,000 followers, or I've only get 300 likes on my last post, or whatever. What am I doing wrong? Am I wrong for thinking that there's too much thinking around that, or is there sense to that?
No, it's 100% wrong. Like, again, social media, all media these days is searchable via Google, via etc. etc. So if you're putting content online, people can now find you. They can now find your work. Reels hasn't got the biggest audience on social media, but the amount of opportunities that have come to him from his posts is testament to the fact that if I post something and you're good at something, people will get in contact with you. So your numbers are really irrelevant. It's more about your consistency. If you're consistent and your work you do offline, so the work you do in the real world is consistent, the two will marry. And that's all that matters. Your numbers look good if your sole aim is, I want to be a quote unquote influencer. Yeah. But numbers are irrelevant if you've got real fans, or if you've got people who really connect with you in the real world, because those are the people who are actually going to buy your products. All these influencers now who that were on lockdown, where have they all gone? Do you see them online anymore? No. Where have they all gone now that their only talent is using this? You know what I mean? So numbers have never really meant anything to me. It's more about the quality of the people following you, and the consistency you have in your work, especially for social media.
And in terms of positives as well, I want to shout you out because of that book giveaway that you were hosting on your Insta, which I saw, which I was so impressed by. I think I'm falling in love again with watching people innovate how they're working with the people around them. And I love, you know what I'm like, I love live physical connections.
Yeah.
I thrive in environments where there's people around me that I can vibes off and all of that. And I definitely, I'm far from mastered that. But in terms of people reaching out to people now, personally, I think it's a fantastic time. I think people are locked down and probably more attentive. Would you agree with that?
I agree. I think there's so many opportunities right now. They always say that when disaster hits, the entrepreneur really will thrive, because there's an opportunity for them to really just take that moment and find a spot for them to really do something different. I mean, it's not kind of the same, because obviously Mo's got got an audience, he's got a follower base. But when you look at what Mo done with quarantine games that he did, so he did literally every other night he would do a little game show on his Instagram page. But he's now upgraded that to a live show on Channel 4. Like, when you think about, and all anybody could have done that. We say anybody, but anybody could have really taken this opportunity to find out, to create a bit of content from his home that I can do on a bigger stage. And that's what you got to start doing. You just got to think about, this is the opportunity for me to get my content, especially if you're a musician, in front of people. It's a chance for me to showcase what I'm doing, because nobody's got nothing to do. Everybody's at home scrolling through their pages. The only thing I would say about this is, if you're going to do that, make sure you think about the long term. So when COVID is over, when we're allowed out again, how does the content you're putting out relate to what you're going to do in the future? When you're putting out content now, are you putting it out just to gain followers? Are you putting it out to maybe increase your mailing list? Or are you putting it out to try and get views on your video so you can show agents? Really think about the reasons what you're doing, why you're putting out the content, so that in the long term you can say, I've done all this now, look at my followers now, look at this point, or look at the views on my video now, or look at how consistent I've been, or whatever your narrative is, so that you can actually achieve something when this time period is over.
Our time is coming up already. I don't know how this conversation has passed that quickly, but something we have to talk about, because it's something that both of us, I think, is what we bonded on straight away, where we had our first conversation, and I remember going, oh yeah, this guy's like me. We have a shared passion about this. Where is the COVID-19 pandemic? Where do you think it is going to leave diversity? And you know how I feel about the term diversity and how loaded I feel that is, but let's just use it for now because we don't have time. Where is that? How do you think this is going to affect diversity as a priority? Should we be worried?
I think it's on us to make sure that it doesn't fall through the gaps. Diversity, especially when it's aimed at what people say is BAME, BAME, it tends to be the big vocal point to get people started through the door, and then as soon as they're in a position to say they've achieved something, it falls off, and diversity becomes everything to everybody else. I think we're in a time period now where, when things do go back to normal, especially when the world that I work with in We Are Stripes, I can imagine agencies are going to drop diversity like a bad smell. So what that is, that's then onto people like ourselves to really just start to really knuckle down and say, no, this is still very much important. It's still very much a part of the world that we live in. In fact, it's probably one of the most important things about the world we live in, especially after COVID, because of the amount of racial tensions there's been around just the disease itself. So it's on us and it's on organizations to really push that. I know with the Arts Council, for example, diversity is one of their big pushes in their new 10-year strategy, for example. So it's just about organizations like ourselves, people like you, we have to be vocal. We have to, and not just be vocal, we have to show that. No, I'm always trying to get you to do more talks. I
know. I'm trying.
We need to show that people like you are out there. And the thing is, that's one thing I love about We Are Stripes. I've seen such a plethora of different races and ages and in positions that I couldn't even fathom when I was growing up. And that's what we need to champion. And that's why I say we always try and champion the positive side of D&I, because we are out there. We're just so bogged down in the work. We're not able to champion ourselves.
I love that. It's a term that I live by. Don't wait for others to do for you what you can do for yourself. I couldn't agree with you more. I'm massively concerned about diversity, but I think, yeah, we do have the power as a community, and diversity in its broadest spectrum, if it's race, culture, sexuality, gender, ability, disability, everything and in between, is for us to come together and ensure that our voices are heard, and that in the context of the potential of a survival of the fittest scenario, that we are here together and the fittest and able to thrive and continue. Haydn, I love you, my bro. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Where can we find you? Where can we find Reels? Where can we find We Are Stripes?
Me, it's just my name, Haydn Corrodus, across every single platform. My surname is Corrodus, and Haydn is Haydn. And then Reels is Reels Online, so please do check him out. He's always dropping music and new freestyles.
Make sure you do.
And then We Are Stripes is We Are Stripes Online. So you're good. Everywhere We Are Stripes. So.
Yeah, so this conversation has been brought to you by Hackney Empire and Hackney Empire Creative Futures. You can find Hackney Empire Creative Futures at HE Futures on Instagram, and I guess all the other social medias. Rachel is going to cuss me. I don't know. I think it's HE Futures. If you want more information, go to hackneyempire.co.uk. You can find more of those. The feedback from the last episode, I'm sure the feedback from this episode has been phenomenal. So we're going to keep on doing these. And again, thank you so much for your time. Last thing is the same thing that I said to Renault. I'm wearing a hood today because the hair is so mad, it's distracting.
I can pat it down now. And my hairline is crazy, like, it's wild. It's all wild. But
have you got Corrodus?
I did, but then I can't find the wire, so it's just all.
Oh, it's mad. I'm tempted to just do it myself.
Yeah,
but you know when you try to do a shape up on yourself and one side just keeps dropping down and then you're trying to match it, and high or low on either side, I'm shook I'm gonna do it with my hairline.
I'm starting to like it, man. I think I'm gonna do the Marvin Gaye thing.
Just go out. I'm with you. Yeah, look, it's popping. Can you see? It's just popped up. Let me just readjust to make sure that that's not the case. Haydn, thank you so much. Guys, leave a comment, give us a like, throw us a message. Anybody else you want us to talk to, let us know. We appreciate your time. Hope you're taking care of yourself, staying safe, staying inside. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you next week for another In Conversation With. Thank you.
Last thing, if you need any help, please do reach me, man. Just give me a shout. I'm happy to help whoever it is.
Please do that. Boom.